Welcome back. This is part 4 of the AQUA restroom remodel. We're getting ready to retexture just a little bit in these areas so it can dry, so I can come back and paint it. And it doesn't need much, but it is going to make a little mess, so I've gone ahead and I've covered up both my faucets and everything right here with a piece of paper, and the one down there for the toilet. I've also covered up the tile and taped it down real good, because when you're texturing, air blows everywhere. So if you don't tape things down, it would just fly all over the place. So I want to go get my texture gun and fill it up and texture these mistakes that I made. Oh, I just finished retexturing. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and come over here to this window and give it another coat of white paint, and that can dry. And then I'll grout the floor, and that can dry. Okay, now the window has been coated again with white, so that's why it's a little bit shiny. It's drying now. I also put a second coat, or actually a third coat, on the trim right here. There was a couple spots that didn't look quite right, so I went ahead and painted around there as well. Now it's time to grout this floor. I'm going to get all this newspaper up out of the way, mix up some grout, and we'll continue. With a clean sponge, I came through and I've scrubbed clean my floor, and so it's wet. And while it's drying, I'm going to go out with a fresh bucket and get some grout and get it mixed up. Okay, and the grouting begins. Now, I don't have to be too concerned about the outer edge. Trim's going to come right here and cover this all up. So you really don't need to waste your time with up to the edge. Now, I need to get it right here, which inadvertently is going to get in the edge, but I'm not going to concentrate at all on the edge, just the inner parts. Now when I hit these grout lines at an angle, I don't want to hit it straight because my float would fall in the crack and make a dent. So always come across at an angle. Now remember that grout is cement. It just has colorant in it, which gives it this color. So I filled in all around my toilet ring here, and it's on a slight angle going towards the middle. So when I put the wax ring on, it should set right on top of that grout in this metal flange and make a good seal. I'm keeping an eye on my grout lines that I already did to make sure that they're not sinking in, which would mean I didn't push enough product down inside. That's why it's very important to keep going over and going over and going over, because you're pushing the grout down deep, and it goes down deep and spreads out underneath the tile just a little bit. It locks everything together. Okay. You just do a little area. Some people like to do the whole floor and let it dry completely, then come back and scrub it. I just think that's silly. Not when you can come back with a... See, my sponge is extremely wet, and I'm scrubbing very lightly the grout, liquefying the top layer again, because the bottom layer is starting to set up as we speak. Of course, when you grout, sponging is critical. You have to wring it out really well. Wipe once, flip it over, wipe again, and then it's time to wring it out again. You can't keep using it unless you wring it out. It'll just keep streaking everything. And in no time, that little area is completely ready, and it can sit there and dry for several hours. Meantime, I'm going to continue the rest of this grouting. Alright, we'll continue right over here. Grouting does not take long. It's getting all the work done up to the grouting that takes long. I sure think this looks better than that old white floor that was in here. Okay, once again, just a small area. Take my sponge that's extremely wet. I didn't wring it out hardly at all. And just scrub very lightly. Once again, that liquefies the top layer. Rinse it out really well. And then one side at a time. It should clean right up. Now, there might be just a little bit of grout that's remaining on top of the tile. And you'll know as it dries because it'll start hazing up. And if it does that, it's okay. When it dries completely, you just come in and with a wet sponge or a wet rag, you buff it off and it'll come right off. It's like chalk. Because grout just won't stick to the surface of this. It'll only stick to the edge of the tile where it's not been glazed. Here we go. That's about a third of it. Alright, just to show you once again a close-up of how this is going in. Okay, here's another close-up of the grouting technique. I thought maybe you can't quite see it good enough that you might want it a little closer, so here we go, just a little bit closer. Let me get this right there, and then I'll bring in my sponge. Okay, once again, wring out your sponge just a little bit. I mean, it's pretty wet. And we're going to scrub lightly the entire area that we just grouted. Rinse out our sponge really well. You can probably see that streak right there. That's okay. I mean, I got most of it up. I can come back, no problem. Bring up my sponge again, nice and tight. Come back, nice and light. And there goes that grout line. So I started in the furthest corner away from the door. I'm working my way out. Pretty much the same way that I laid the tiles. Someone asked me, why didn't you start at the door if that's where you wanted your full tile? Well, if I started at the door, I could have done it that way. If I started at the door, I would have been more apt to have to put my weight on some of the tiles the further in I went. And I wasn't interested in doing any of that. And it's just as easy to dry lay them, measure them out, make sure everything's square, and then install, like I showed you in part 3, that 7 1/8 row in the back, so it would come up even up front. Just like that. So the grout's had time to dry, and I've already ahead and cut up trim and got it installed. Got the toilet paper holder installed. Got a water line ready for the toilet. And I'm getting ready to put in the sink now. I also reassembled my radiator down here and put my window completely back together and trimmed it out, caulked it and painted it, and got my new light fixture up. I think it looks pretty nice. It's really amazing how messy the bathroom remodel is. And then all of a sudden, at the end, everything just starts coming together. And it doesn't take long at all, and everything is installed, up and working, It's a good feeling. Got the window completely trimmed out and painted. This window originally had mullions running, you know, this way and this way. But they were broken and old, and so I just removed them, and it revealed a nice clear glass. And of course we got the door reinstalled. And that radiator looks brand new. Remember when it was green? So it really doesn't take that long, and before you know it, everything's put together. I want to thank you for watching Great Handyman's home remodeling videos. I really do appreciate you watching. As I give you one final tour of this bathroom, this is Great Handyman saying thanks for watching Great Handyman's home remodeling videos. We'll talk to you real soon.